Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles. I'm delighted to be joined, even though it's virtually, with the amazing Desmond Jackson with his fantastic movie Wars, which scared the hell out of me. But if you haven't seen it, let's take a look at a clip. Desmond, I'm still reeling from two things. One, you scared me in about 5 minutes, and secondly, you left me wanting more, which is a great thing. But for those that haven't seen it, Desmond, tell us a brief synopsis of your film.
Yeah, so Wolves is about a rebellious teenager who wants to leave his house, but he doesn't know that there's a sinister presence in the house beyond the wolves that lurk outside. So he has to confront that head on before he's able to leave the house. So.
It's always remarkable to me how you can just, in a short films are really hard, right? They're really hard to do because you've got to capture so much in a short period. But like when you're just in it, you're like, and I watched this, with someone and we were like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. Like, wow. For me personally, like, I want to know, where did this inspiration come for the story? Is it based on true events? Like, what's going on?
I have to say that a lot of the props go to the writer. When he had the first draft of the script, it was originally like a period piece. It was set in, I believe, Haiti.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't do a period piece, with the budget we had. So I was like, let's make it a little more modern. Like maybe he has his phone with him. He's trying to leave, get a ride or something. So I think if anything, I drew from inspiration from my own history of like, trying to sneak out the house when I was younger. And so I think I kind of embedded a lot of that of like, what does it mean to be a teenager sneaking out of the house? And it's funny enough, like watching it again, I feel like there's a lot of COVID elements, even though we filmed this like pre-COVID of like, don't leave the home, don't leave the house. So yeah, I think that was kind of like the inspiration I drew from. The writer did an amazing job. He was inspired by the mythology of werewolves in Haiti. And after doing my own research, I gave him some notes on it and he was very much open to it. And yeah, we kind of like further crafted the story from there.
I love that. I know it was great discovering and hearing it was actually, mythology from the werewolves in Haiti. I was like, wow. And then you obviously made it work, took this like modern day element and made the film, even though it came inspired from something that was just from long ago. And I love that you made that happen. It's always a unique experience, because sometimes you're like, well, not sure if we can make this work, and you found a way to make it work. Yeah, the sneaking out of the house. Yeah, the mother was my mother growing up, so I really empathize with this. I was like, it wasn't necessarily werewolves outside, but I really. But I just want to say, your the son and the mother, like, were brilliant. Like, I just was like, they are brilliant. I want to watch them in the full feature version. Like, how do you bring your cast together?
Yeah, so funny enough, so I go to Chapman University as a MFA grad student, and one of the mother was actually an actress in another short film by a Chapman student. And funny enough, she was also the mother of one of my friends who I had done an internship with.
What?
And so yeah.
Amazing.
And so I asked her to be in the short, and I think this was kind of like one of the last student films she was doing.
Wow.
And so she did me a huge favor. And then the son I found on casting networks. And so I did virtual auditions. Just because I didn't have time to like rent out a studio space to do auditions in like
do
LA.
it.
Yeah, so it was they were both great. They met each other the day of filming and they hit it off. Their chemistry was already like amazing. And they kept bringing stuff to the table that I wasn't even thinking of, and they asked such great questions. And to me it was awesome working with them because they were just like real actors. Like they really like put themselves wholeheartedly in the film. And for that, I think they elevated the film to a whole nother level.
It was so wonderfully raw, like a mother and son relationship. Like it felt so real. It came across so well, and you understood from both perspectives. And of course, there was obviously other stuff going on in their world. But the most amazing thing that I'm so proud that you created was this world. Like you took us into this world, the way that the way that it was shot, the way that it was color graded, the production design, all of those different things. Like I felt like I was in this world that I wanted to see more of. Tell us a little bit about that kind of dynamic into making your film, because I loved it.
Yeah, so I'll speak on the production design because I was the production designer
There
pretty
you
much.
go. See, that's brilliant.
And so essentially what I wanted to do, I wanted to make it as if like the silver in the house is something that, in mythology wards off werewolves. It's like werewolf's bane. And so I wanted to make it sure like, the bed sheet covers, a lot of the stuff on the lamps and the desks and stuff, it had silver because the mother wanted to protect the boy. And so that was like I just got a bunch of silver stuff from Amazon. and so that's kind of how I ordered that. And then the house was a house in orange. And it's an antique house. It's I think it was built in like the late 1800s, and the owners just like kept it up. And so that kind of added to the kind of like the also horror element, because if it was a modern day house with like white walls, I feel like it wouldn't have read as well.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of that. And then with the cinematography, I was really inspired by How to Get Away with Murder. And season 2, there's an episode with this blue-green lighting, and I've been obsessed with that ever since.
Yes.
And I was like, and I don't want to spoil the episode for
Yeah.
anyone who hasn't seen How to Get Away with Murder, but they should know what episode it is. And so I wanted to use that because I had just always been so enamored with that episode where it seemed to blend the surreal and the real.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I wanted to have wolves embody that. Like, are there really wolves outside? Even though there's this very real, tangible fear of like going outside, and then there's this fear in the house. So yeah, that's kind of what was my inspiration for the lighting.
It was so good. And sometimes I think what's so magical about, horror, that whole genre, is you're in fear of what you don't know and what you don't see, and you created this like fear factor, except there was also kind of fear in the house too. Like, I wasn't quite sure. I was like, is that mom suddenly going to change into a wolf? Like, what's going on? Like, I was just like, is this really going to happen? And it was great. And it was, I honestly felt like I was watching like the future of how horror movies are, should look and gonna look. And it was really nice to see, someone who is obviously, starting his career, obviously just starting this genre. I'm like, you just need to keep making more movies, Desmond. This is great. This is really exciting to watch. For me, is that obviously this is your first time going into this genre. What kind of inspirations, like, with this kind of genre do you have? And like, how do you, what's your process like for kind of like working to kind of get those little edgy bits where you kind of feel like what's going to happen next?
Yeah, so one of my biggest inspirations is Jordan Peele and Get Out. There's a specific shot we used in Get Out when the main character in that film is like in the bedroom and he's looking at the door. I so much wanted that shot to be in the film, and so we actually got that when the main character in our film, he looks at the window and then he looks at the door.
Yes.
So yeah, Jordan Peele's Get Out was a huge inspiration. We took a little bit of inspiration from Us, and then I think, for me, I've watched a few horror shorts and like horror films, and I think one thing I wanted the audience to be scared, and so that's why I was like, off the jump, I'm gonna like have this little montage where like, people aren't going to be expecting that. And I think one other thing I'll give huge credit to is that the score and the sound design.
Oh my gosh, so good.
Yeah, the score was actually, funny enough, when I was talking with the composer, I was like, I want this to be like a recreation of Kanye West's Wolves.
Yeah.
And so the score composer, Sahil, he managed to do it in a way that avoided copyright, but also brought this very ethereal sound, and like he embedded some sound effects in the score. And so he just, again, brought it to a whole nother level that like I feel elevated the film. And so yeah, I think huge shout out to him. That was a huge help. And also huge shout out to my gaffer, Jeff. He, again, brought the lighting. So yeah.
No, honestly, I wrote in my notes the amazing score and amazing sound design, and that is such an important element to this genre. It really is, as is lighting, as is production design, as is editing. you know, the whole thing give us those little fear factors, and they make it, and it, you know, it certainly worked as well. What has been like, I mean, this is exciting for you. What has been the reaction since you've made the film? Of course, we're in these interesting times, but what's been the reaction for you from your audiences thus far?
Yeah, so far, I feel like there's always a lot of theories about the film. Was like, okay, was the mom really the wolf, and like she turned into the wolf at the end, and she was just outside? But I was like, no, because she's standing at the door. She wants to protect him. And so there's always these like theories of like, oh, okay, like what were the wolves? And so sometimes I don't even want to answer that because, you know, I've watched Jordan Peele interviews and sometimes he doesn't even like speak on his own fan theories.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of like taking inspiration from that. But yeah, everyone is always saying like, yo, like I think this should be a feature. Like, was this a sample for a feature? They always love the look and the lighting. And, you know, for me, that and the performances, I think Merlan, who plays the mom, her performance, and even Lazarus, who plays Theo, their performances always get such great reviews that I'm just forever thankful that I could even work with them. Because like I said, they brought their A game. So yeah, I think, you know, in the back of my head, it's just like, man, I guess I got to write the feature version of this.
I wrote down, I'm begging for a feature. Okay. Like you have to make it happen, you know? You know, there are some short films that are, you know, sit very well in their own short form story. But this, I'm like, no, you need to, I mean, it could be a feature, it could be a sequel, it could be, I mean, honestly, it's that good, you know? And when you've got a good baseline of a story, you've got good actors, like, you know, it's amazing. So, I mean, yeah, no pressure from us and everyone in your audience, but you know, hey, get on it, you know, because it's great. I mean, it leads me to say, like, you know, what is next for you? What are you next looking to work on at the moment?
Yeah, so right now I'm in the midst of writing another horror short. It's going to be pretty much be about another teenager, except this time he's in a mansion and he's
Oh,
haunted by
cool.
kind of like videos of police brutality. So I'm kind of like toying with that and
Oh,
bringing it
yeah.
more to like real world topical issues. And then I'm also getting more into action. Like I said, I think I've been my two loves have been horror and action, and so like I have the horror piece and I want to do more action, and so yeah, I think it's just meshing both of those genres in a way that, you know, people haven't seen, because I'm really big on like being original,
Yeah.
and giving audiences a story or things they haven't like typically seen in other films. So yeah, that's what I'm working on. And I'm also
That's
working on
awesome.
a horror feature script with the Cinephilia development workroom. So that's
Oh, they're
been,
great.
yeah, no, that's been a huge, you know, writing a feature is such a daunting process.
Good luck.
And so, you know, even getting the first 10 pages down on like on final draft, it's like, whoa, I can actually finish this eventually and not
Yeah.
take all this time. So yeah, it's just a lot of things in the woodwork, and hoping I can execute them to the best of my abilities.
Oh man, I'm so happy for you, Desmond. It's got a lot of different things in the pipeline, and making it happen. I certainly feel from your energy that you're a good person to lead on set, and keep it well balanced. So, you know, that's also really good too. I know obviously you're in your, you know, early part of your career, and there's, you know, so much more exciting things to come ahead. But I'm just curious for our filmmaking audience, is there kind of any advice that you've been given, or any advice you go by yourself that can kind of help others on their journeys?
Wow, yeah. I feel like I give so many tidbits. But you know, one thing I'll say is like just keep pushing for your vision. There will be times where like I feel like people didn't wholeheartedly like understand what I was going for. And sometimes it's like what they said in Into the Spider-Verse, you got to take that leap of faith and keep
Yep.
pushing. And like if you believe in it, and it's always good to take suggestions from other people, but like if there's one thing like you want to see on screen and execute it and know, and everyone else is kind of doubting it, go for it. Like go for it. Even if it's weird, if it's quirky, if it's like out of the box, like I would say just trust in yourself and your gut, because that's like your artist instinct and your artist intuition, and lean into that as much as you can. And I think that's one advice I try to go by like when making any film. So
Amazing. Well, remember the New Filmmakers LA as the place that begged you for the feature. Uh,
facts.
okay, firstly, and then we want to see it, and bring it back to us, obviously. And you know, listen, Desmond, you're super talented, and well done on this film. And thank you for leaving us wanting more. And you know, we're wishing you best wishes on the future up and coming projects as well.
Thank you so much. It was great being here, Danny.
Awesome.